Okay, now in the second part of our lesson, now we're going to be looking at two different equations and determining the relationship between the two that they give us. So we want to know if these two things are either going to be perpendicular, parallel, or maybe neither. So the best way to do that is to change both of them so that they're in slope-intercept form. So again, we're just solving for y. So that's going to be 3x is equal to negative 5x plus 27. And then we're dividing by 3 each of our terms. Y equals negative 5/3 x plus 9. Now, the only thing that we really care about in this sort of problem is that slope. So we want to see the relationship between the slopes of these two equations. So now the next one, again, we're just solving for y, so I'm going to subtract 15x. So we have 9y equals negative 15x minus 72. Divide by 9. So we get y equals negative 15 over 9x. This would be minus 8. Now that negative 15 over 9, we can take a 3 out of the top and the bottom. So that's going to be y equals negative 5 over 3x minus 8. So again, since these two slopes are the same, these two lines would be parallel. Next one, same sort of problem, only we're looking at a data set. So the points A, B, and C are collinear. Remember from geometry that collinear means that those are points that are on the same line. The points D, E, and F are also collinear. So really this table right here is split in two. So the left-hand side is one line, the right-hand side is another line, and we would like to see the relationship between those two things. So remember, when you are dealing with a table like this, we only have to pick 2 points. So for my A, B, and C, I'm actually going to pick A and B just because they both have a 0.5 and I can get rid of that. So the first thing we have to do is we have to find our slope. And actually that's going to be the only thing that we're going to end up having to do. So I'm going to have 5.5 minus 0.5 all over 3 minus 1. So 5.5 minus 0.5 is going to be equal to 5 over 2. And then let's see the other side over here. So for this one I'll do negative 0.9 minus negative 0.1 all over 6 minus 2. So negative 0.9, that's going to turn into a plus. So I'm going to have negative 0.8 over 2. Now to determine if these two things are opposite reciprocal, I'm going to multiply this by a 10. So I'm going to think of it as 8 over 20. And now I can take a 4 out of everything. And I'll be ending up with a 2. Sorry, that's still negative. So that is indeed opposite reciprocal for this one. So if you aren't careful, you might make a quick little error. The other thing that you can do is look at the fraction, or the decimal is what I'm thinking of. So actually divide those numbers on a calculator and then look at the opposite reciprocal of your first one and see if they match. Almost done here. Find the equation of the line perpendicular to the graph of y equals 2 that passes through the point 4, negative 1. Okay, so now we're only looking at vertical and horizontal lines. And we're only going to be looking at things that are probably perpendicular. So remember the line y equals 2? Anytime you have y equals just a number, that is going to be a flat line at whatever number they give us. Now, we want a line that's perpendicular to that at the point 4, negative 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. So we have a point right here and it needs to be perpendicular to that line, so that needs to be straight up and down. So that straight up and down line is just going to be x equals 4. So don't overcomplicate these types of problems, because they give me a line, they tell me it's perpendicular at a specific point. So if you have a flat line and we're finding one that's perpendicular, it's going to be either flat or horizontal, and that's just going to be either the x or the y value based on what they give you. So for this one, because we wanted a perpendicular line that would be vertical, that's just going to be the x value of the point that they give us. So I'll try to explain this a little bit better in the next one. The equation of the line perpendicular to the graph of x equals 15. So again, let's say, boom, this is 15. So we have a vertical line. The one perpendicular to that is going to be horizontal. Now, the point that they give us is at 7, -1. So roughly halfway and down 1. So we'll say that's 7, -1. Now, if it's going to be perpendicular, then this needs to be a flat line with a slope of 0. So for this flat line, that's simply going to be y equals, y equals -1, because the y value was at -1. Okay, that's all we got for these lessons.